Apple, Nike, Coca Cola. Y'all are selling products made by forced labor. That it's just a thing. And here's the extra added adage. In the United States, slavery is kind of legal. It's like a gray area. I mean, it's technically illegal, but the 13th Amendment allows you to get slaves if they're prisoners. So slavery is still legal in the US as well. And those slaves, they make a lot of products which are, of course, bought by major corporations in the United States as well. So doesn't matter if it's China, doesn't matter if it's America. Everyone's in on it, baby. All right, I'm going to report on this, not because I want to engage everybody in the xenophobia that seems to be really popular right now amongst libs and conservatives. They like to vilify China for things that I don't think you should be vilifying China for. I don't think China invented COVID as some strange grasp for power. I don't think the ability for China to climb the ranks as one of the world's superpowers comes at the behest of the entire global economy collapsing. That's not really how those things work. So I think that's kind of tinfoil hatchery and foolish. Now, the problem with information coming out of China and people talking about China is there's a lot of whataboutism, all right? Americans love to get all angry at China. And I know right now I'm just, if there's tankies watching me right now, you're probably going to be upset about me talking about this. I know, because they like to kind of do apologia for the treatment of the Uyghur minorities in China, unfortunately. But it is something that is happening. Now, the reason it's something that's very, very difficult to talk about, especially, and it should not be in leftist circles, it should not be, but is because, again, there is a whole bunch of, xenophobia and lies that comes out of the imperial United States, who are in control of the world, who are constantly trying to tell you China bad, USA good. And that's kind of the rhetoric. Whereas there is USA bad, China bad, everything bad, and then there's also things that they do that are good as well. It's kind of a little bit difficult to have those conversations. I've reported on the Uyghur camps before. I've reported on the treatment of Muslims globally. I think the treatment and Islamophobia seems to be ramping up, unfortunately, around the entire planet. But something at an angle on this story that is not being told, especially, and this is the juicy one for leftists, is the corporate, let's say, collusion. The fact that so many major companies have blood on their hands, forced labor blood on their hands. Now, that's nothing new, of course. Corporations love forced labor camps. Corporations love cheap labor. It's one of the reasons outsourcing has been such a wonderful thing. They like getting their labor as cheap as they can up until the point where the robots can do it for free. Well, not for free. They cost electricity and other maintenance things. Anyways, one of the biggest problems that I've had in my tanky battles over the past years is, of course, having to push back against just direct evidence when it comes to these detention centers and camps. Now, when there's direct evidence presented before you usually get the thing where they'll send it back and they'll say, that's not actually satellite footage of X, that's actually something else. Or that's not actually a detention center. Those are re-education camps, and they're happy and they do great things. So we now have a very large collection of satellite imagery, and this is satellite imagery, of course, of these, by the way, these are not disputed camps in Xinjiang that even the Chinese government are saying are for the purposes of re-education and jobs training and stuff like that. That's the official story. So just so you know, these aren't up for dispute as to whether or not this is actual footage or pictures. That's not what's up for debate. What is probably going to be up for debate is what the satellite imagery is showing, which is that these re-education centers also have factories in them. And surprise, surprise, these factories are being used to manufacture cheap consumer goods for you and me and the rest of the world. It turns out that a lot of companies are in cahoots with this whole operation, including some that you may know and love, such as Apple, IBM, Coca Cola. In fact, these major corporations went as far as to try and defeat a bill that would ban the use of major corporations in the United States getting their products made by forced labor camps. Now, that sounds like a freebie. That sounds like a gimme. Like, hey, are you Coca Cola? Are you Apple? Then yeah, I would assume that you probably don't want to get your products made by people who are being coerced and or forced to do it. You probably don't want that to be where you get your products made and sold. Turns out that the answer to that is nah, a big old nah. They're more like no, we know where our sausage is made, and we're quite comfortable with the sausage factory. Oh yes, the reason being, it's cheap. That's it. Such a simp. Very profound stream, but you're wasted in Twitch. You should be a news anchor in some corporate channel. Oh yeah, that'll go over. Hey, everybody! I'm here to talk to you about fleshlights and donkey jizz. I would not last long in that environment. Let me just say that. And also, by the way, you can't report on the same things that you would be able to. Like, I don't have an editor. My editor is essentially you. Everyone who's been subscribing today, you're the editors in chief. If all of you are like, we're not watching you anymore, Lance, because we don't like the fact that you did X, then most likely I'll have to change my ways a bit. But as of now, there's no oversight. I don't have to worry about whether or not Fox News thinks it's okay for me to report on this story, because we get all our money from Big Tanky. Oh God, if Big Tanky is the thing, I will accept your funding, and I will praise Mao and Stalin and Lenin, all of them. They're my heroes. They're my long-standing overlords. China has built more than 100 new facilities in Xinjiang where it can not only lock people up, but also force them to work in dedicated factories, building right on site, BuzzFeed News can reveal based on government records, interviews, and hundreds of satellite images. In August, BuzzFeed News uncovered hundreds of compounds in Xinjiang. By the way, one of the most lovable things about this entire segment right now is any single tanky who's watching it is laughing their face off because I'm using BuzzFeed News as a source. They love ripping into your sources. If you've battled in the fields of tanky, then you know that they adore to rip your sources about anything that you send them. The first thing they'll do is they'll hit Control and F. All right. Okay. Now let's look up Adrian Zen. Oh, bingo! We got Adrian Zen's. This entire article is moot. This entire article is now just CIA operatives because his name's in it, and that's all it takes. That's all it takes. There's one instance of Adrian Zen's, but that's enough. I just basically debunked this entire article in real time. So if you want to know how to do that, if I'm teaching you how to become a tanky, that's all you got to do. If you find Adrian Zen's, the entire article is fucking garbage, absolute garbage. Metarob, hail freedom, agreed. The reason being is Adrian Zenz is a far-right nutjob, anti-communist piece of shit, asshole, Republican, who's very, very easy to debunk. His information, by the way, the sources he pulls information from to report on the Uyghur internment camps is not. And that's where you get to that ... It's an ad hom. It really is. You're attacking basically the person's credibility and character rather than his information or sources. But Adrian Zen sucks. He's the worst. And if you are using him primarily as a source, yeah, you probably are barking up that old American imperial ladder. That's why there's such a fine line, and it's a hard thing to jiggle and juggle. Well, not so hard to jiggle. But anyways, yeah, so this article is moot. Fair. It was kind of moot from the get-go because it was a BuzzFeed article, but I'm going to quickly skirt through some of it. Collectively, the factories identified by BuzzFeed News cover more than 21 million square feet, nearly 4 times the size of a mall in America, and they are growing in a way that mirrors the rapid expansion of the mass detention campaign, which ensnared more than 1 million people since it began in 2016. 14 million square feet of the new factories were built in 2018 alone. 2 former detainees told BuzzFeed News that they'd worked in the factories while they were detained. One of them, Gulzira Uehan, my apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, said she and another woman traveled by bus to a factory where they would sew gloves. Asked if they were paid, she simply laughed. The former detainees said they were never given a choice about working and that they earned a pittance or no pay at all. I felt like I was in hell, said one of the detainees before her confinement. Nurnibai ran a small garment business and a factory inside the internment camp where she was held. Said she worked in a cubicle that was locked away from the outside, sewing pockets into school uniforms. They created this evil place and they destroyed my life. In response to the questions about this article, the Chinese consulate in New York quoted a worker in Xinjiang's Caracas County who called the allegations of forced labor in the region slander, while speaking at a government press conference saying villagers in the region are earning higher salaries and learning new skills. We hope everyone can distinguish right from wrong, respect the facts, and do not be deceived by the rumors. So, the Chinese government doesn't deny that these factories, or sorry, not the factories, but that these camps exist. They're just saying that they're education camps and job training programs. And in many ways, they're benevolent. Right? Because we're creating the situation for people who might not have it otherwise, and then they're going to be allowed to be re-entering into the workforce. Now, they're skirting over the fact that, unfortunately, in most of these situations, they're also doing a lot of things such as cultural erasure, religious erasure, and almost like a reprogramming, if you will. The idea is that they're basically saying multiple times that there is this problem. The problem is radical Islamic terrorism. Oof, where have we heard that before? And that the best way to stop it, of course, is to re-educate and re-enter these Muslim minorities into society. Xinjiang's industry is booming. The region has one of the fastest GDP growth rates in China. Xinjiang reports a range of products from clothing to machinery, and the US is one of the region's fastest growing markets. Here's the rub, everybody. Here's where the two of us are working in cahoots with each other. Xinjiang's factories produce many goods that eventually make their way to US consumers. Apple, Nike, Coca Cola, amongst others, lobbied Congress this year to water down a bill that would ban the imports of products made with forced labor camps. Apple said it did not try to weaken the measure. Nike said it did not lobby against it, but they did. And the bill overwhelmingly passed the House of Representatives in September, but the Senate has yet to debate it. So it's basically just going to die on the floors of the Senate because it never will be introduced because, of course, the monies. Corporations should stop producing in and sourcing from Xinjiang. Agreed. There's no way to produce responsibly in that region until the forced labor and broader representation ends. Agreed. So, by the way, Apple, Nike, Coca Cola, y'all are selling products made by forced labor. That is just the thing. And here's the extra added adage. In the United States, slavery is kind of legal. It's like a gray area. I mean, it's technically illegal, but the 13th Amendment allows you to get slaves if they're prisoners. So slavery is still legal in the US as well. And those slaves, they make a lot of products which are, of course, bought by major corporations in the United States as well. So doesn't matter if it's China, doesn't matter if it's America. Everyone's in on it, baby. Come on. This is just how it works, you know? I mean, for all the hatred that Americans have towards Xi Jinping, China in general, all the fear they have, like, oh, the rising dragon is going to overtake us all. Y'all are like peas in a pod right now. Y'all know. Y'all get it. Y'all do the capitalism real well. Oh, Canada does it too. Oh, yeah. Hey, come on. Everyone's in on it. $3 a day. What? Tell me you can't live on $3 a day. That's not a slave wage. Please. The Chinese government in Xinjiang surveys people so thoroughly and monitors interviews so closely that it's nearly impossible to independently assess if any one of the factories relies on the forced labor. This is especially true given the economic programs designed to move people out of poverty by moving rural farm workers into factory jobs. Detention camp factories are woven deeply into Xinjiang's economy, the Washington, D.C.-based nonprofit research institute has said. Yep. So, the next time you want to open up a cool glass of Coca Cola and enjoy that sweet caffeinated beverage, just know it may have been made by forced labor. But then, isn't all labor forced?
What lies around the corner? Never knowing who's going to kill you. Are you the next one to be murked? You never know if it's a friend or a foe. If you want to see the biggest names in BreadTube and Left Twitch and Butterthing and I don't know the fucking names anymore, come see Left Among Us.
If you want us to advertise your channel or work, please go to weareserfs.com and email us a 20 to 30 second ad and we'll take it on to the end of one of our videos to help promote your leftist channel or progressive something. Whatever you do.
To our God, I'm Rast, Xander Corvus, and Schlatsky, we shall commit blood sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, our lives are yours to command. To our lords, Jeffrey Lamb, Trevor R., Stephen, Hans Josephine, Poppy Nelson, Ryan Lubin, Jimothy K. Meeblebeeps Jr., we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our knights of the round table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Bythe, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Political Puppy, Jimmy Bignuts, Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Dr. Zayas, Yopi, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Jack Darko, Thomas Barretton, J. Fraser Cartwright, Goofalankius, Melissa Murphy, Nicholas Marks, Alexander Thaler, Ali Rada Jaffer, Alex Gauvin, Radical Maniac, we salute you.